Okay, folks, we're here to talk about the LG G Flex smartphone, and this is through AT&T. And we finished about a week and a half of review on this device. There's a blinking light on the power button. Actually, I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. And we're not going to get into too technical of details today, but just talking about whether you would want this device or not and what I thought of it. After using this for the last week and a half, I don't want to give it back. So that should tell you enough right there that I absolutely love this device. We can see that it has a curved display. See that? And it is slightly flexible. You can't just bend it up. But if you put it on the table and you force it down here, it is slightly bendable. So that means if you sit on this with it in your back pocket, it's not going to break, which is a great thing for me because I destroyed my Galaxy S4 display by sitting on it while working in my shop. So let's pop it on. You can do one of two things. You can touch the power button here. You also have your volume up and down rockers right there on that back button. So if you're holding it with one hand, you can turn it on by tapping that button. Or let's do it a different way. We'll double tap in the center of the screen and bam, there it is right there. One thing I really like is the screensaver. It's kind of neat. When you tilt up the phone, it kind of looks up in the sky. And then when you tilt back down, it kind of look down at the ground. And I kind of like the ocean view one a lot better than this nighttime sky. And then as the time changes, the numbers kind of fall off into the ocean, into the abyss there. So that's kind of cool. So there it is, powered on. And this is a gigantic screen. I love it. It's a 6-inch display. It actually is about 1/10 of an inch bigger than a Galaxy Note 3. So that's a big screen. Now, as far as touch, when you touch it, it's very sensitive to touch, but it kind of lags when you're dragging or scrolling through, just a little bit looser. Maybe it's not a lag, but it's a little bit looser of a touch. And I guess they add that, or they do that to add a little smoothness when you're scrolling, so that's not too bad. Now, as far as the onboard keyboard, let's try that out. Let's just open up a text message here. I love the touch and the feel of this keyboard, and it does come with swipe. What I would compare this to is an HTC device. I think HTC has the best feel for touch and for the haptic feedback of any soft keyboard of a smartphone, except for the LG G Flex. They have caught up with, and in fact, this feels slightly better to me than using an HTC device. So we can see that the accelerometer is pretty quick in detecting when I'm flipping the phone. I like that too because a lot of phones don't flip that fast. My Galaxy S4 does not change the aspect that quick. So at the bottom of the screen we see we got 3 soft buttons, 1, 2, 3, and then there's a little bit of dead space down at the bottom. This is normally where you would see your soft buttons when they are outside of the display, but since this is within the confines of the screen, you are basically dealing with your Android KitKat buttons right there. So that takes a little bit getting used to when you're used to using the Galaxy S4. And just to give you a little comparison here, let's show you what the S4 looks like next to this device. And here's my S4. What is it doing? Let's turn that on. It's pretty dim there. At any rate, we can see a pretty sizable difference with the display here on the S4. Wow, not too bad. The S4 feels like a toy after I've been using the G Flex for the last week and a half. Now I'm spoiled, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to get a Galaxy Note 3 just to solve my situation with needing this larger jumbo size. It's better on my eyes. I wish this had a stylus, but I guess I could live without that if I had this phone, just because it's so nice to look at the screen. The curve, does it really make a difference with the curve? Yes, it does. Now, let's go to my favorite. One of my 2 favorite websites. Gotta Be Mobile is one, and BGR is the other. I love BGR. And there's something that I noticed right off the bat with this phone that you do not get on a Galaxy device or on an Apple device. Let's just open up one of these articles here, and I'll show you what I mean. This is built into the browser, and this is a big thing for me. When I am reading, okay, there's your small text, and you zoom in and you notice how the words go off the screen, and you got to pan side to side, which is really stupid if you ask me. And that's not a good thing when you read as much as I do using a smartphone. But the LG G Flex has somewhat of a text reflow. If I double tap the display, look what it just did. It resized, or it rewrapped the text, not resized. It kept the same size, And now I can have that text as big as I want, and I can scroll vertically with ease. And notice there's no, it's at the edge of the screen. Sometimes when you resize the text, like with the Galaxy S4, the letters will be slightly off the edge of the screen when you increase the font size. That is not text reflow, or not in a sense that is dynamic. This is not really, it's almost dynamic. Dynamic means that on an HTC device, when you zoom in, it will actually cascade those words and wrap them as you're zooming. This one you have to do the double tap, but hey, that's not bad. So there it is, I resize it, I double tap, and then there it goes. Okay, so that's a big plus. And for fussy people like me, text reflow is a big thing. Something that goes along with that, this curved display is easier to read. I never thought that I would really notice that, but just like some of these new great big 4K TVs that are coming out that have the slight concave shape on the display, so that when your eyes are reading, you're keeping the same radius from your eyes. You're not going at a longer distance from the top to the bottom. And believe me, it really makes a difference. Now, going back to the back of the screen, you can see that the power button is flashing. That means that I've got notifications. So that's kind of cool. You get the little magical green button. So we'll just tap the power button and come back on. Now, getting used to this volume up and down, that's kind of, it's not too easy. I'd rather have the volume on the side where I'm gripping the phone. Here, you got to hold the phone and kind of feel for it. And if you're feeling the camera, you'll think you're at the top and bottom of the volume rocker, and you're not. It's kind of down here, so you have to get used to where it is. I think once you get used to that, it probably would be okay, but I have found myself doing the volume the old-fashioned way and using the slider on the screen. So that's just kind of a different thing. That's LG style with what they're doing with their phones. And, you know, again, that's no deal breaker. It's not going to be a huge annoyance. That's okay. So, at any rate, I love surfing the web and reading BGR into mobile. Gotta be mobile. All my favorite blog sites right here on the screen. Facebook is great using this device. I also like the way, if you noticed here, that we've got a 3D scrolling through our applications. That's LG's interface, their overlay rather. And that's kind of stylish. I like that. Kind of gadgety, pretty cool. Here's Facebook app. Looks really nice with such a large display. And Facebook, you cannot resize the text. So for somebody like me that has 40-something-year-old eyes, it's a lot easier to read Facebook on this large device. Now you can kind of see it right here. Do you see what I mean about how loose the scrolling is? See that? When I'm going up and down, it takes a tenth of a second or so to catch up, but I guess that's just so they can have kind of a smooth scrolling. So hardware wise, like I said, I'm not going to really get into it. It's got 2 gig of RAM, it's got plenty of memory, 16 gig or 32 gig I believe, and the display is 720 by 1240 I think is your resolution. For picky people, maybe that's an issue, but really, my eyesight is not good enough to tell the difference between this and the display on my Galaxy S4, which is a higher resolution. Watching Breaking Bad or whatever, YouTube videos, is just as good, and the size kind of makes it more fun for viewing multimedia content. Picture taking is pretty good. I think the camera does a fine job. It's pretty responsive, it's pretty quick, and the battery lasts forever. It's amazing that something that is this big can have a battery that will really last that long, but it's got, I think, what, 3200 milliamp or 3500, I don't remember. My Galaxy S4 has a 2800 milliamp battery, and it does okay. And I thought that the reason why it wouldn't last long is because it had that large display, but that's not an excuse now that I've used this phone. Now with the Galaxy S5, they've done a lot of tweaking, and they have still the same size battery, 2800 milliamps, but it apparently like doubles the battery life. You can just run that thing, games, videos, whatever, and it will go and go and go. And they have a new mode where you can put it in super low power mode and it'll go for 24 hours on 10% battery. That's a Galaxy S5, but it costs probably a lot more money than this phone. Getting one of these on contract, I don't imagine it would be more than $200. It's probably going to come down in price from right now. But I would say that if you're the type of person that you like big displays, if you're hard on phones, this is the one for you. You're not going to be able to break it. You can drop it, it's not going to crack the display because it's flexible. I mean, that's a huge breakthrough. I wouldn't even put this in a case. Why put this in a case if you're not going to crack the display? The only thing I would use for this is to put a skin on it. There's nothing else, there's no other reason to do that. So just to keep it from scratching up, here's the settings menu. It's a little bit different than the Galaxy menu. This is the LG version. So overall, I like the way that it's set up. It's pretty cool. And again, the only thing that I kind of got to get used to is the soft buttons at the bottom. I'd rather have a button, and then it would have been nice if they could have used this extra space down here. So you got a lot of space outside of the bezel up and at the bottom and at the top, but that's okay because you still get 6 inches of display. So there it is. That's about all I got to say about the LG G Flex. Thanks for checking out the video. Check out this phone from AT&T. Thank you, AT&T St. Louis, for letting me review this device. Sadly, I'll get it back in the mail to you. I really don't want to send it back. I'm going to miss it. So get to the store, check one of these out. And if you are the type of person that you just want a good smartphone that has a lot of good features and benefits, not bleeding edge, but it's pretty cutting edge. And the biggest thing, it's durable. You're not going to break it. 2 great big huge thumbs up on this device. Great job, LG, for making a device that's not going to break. And the concave design, it's not too curved. You can still sit it on the table, it's not going to rock. So it's not getting ridiculous, but it is nice. It's eye candy for my eyeballs. I really love it. If I had an extra $500-600 sitting in my pocket, I'd probably buy one and just use this phone to play with. So there you have it. Check out the blog site, www.carltonzone.com, and I'll have more details about the G Flex, get into the technical aspects if you're the type of person that you like specifications. So give me your comments. Tell me what you think about this device, and we will see you next time. Peace.